Welcome to Your Story. So today I have with me Jyoti Arora ma'am, who is Special Secretary and Financial Advisor for Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So we'll be speaking to her about how the governance has changed in last 1 year and how it will be the way ahead. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you.
My first question will be how the governance has changed in last 1 year and what will be your roadmap for the next 1 year.
It's always very good to speak to young audience, the kind of one which you have in your story, the buzzing youngsters who are involved in the startup business, and they understand e-governance very well. When we talk of future of e-governance or what has happened in the past 1 year, first we have to understand what is e-governance or what is governance. Governance, I think we mean by governance three things essentially. One is the delivery of services, second is maintaining of law and order, and the third thing is creating of opportunities. Now, the governance from time memorial has been done with different kind of tools. It's only recently that we are doing it through the electronic mode. Since you have very young audience, I don't know whether they know that the first kind of electronic intervention in digitization was done for the ports and for the customs. Earlier, many ships used to take 5 days just to get their papers collected when they came to shore. Now, in the 70s, when custom department in Government of India was digitized, there was huge efficiency in the port sector because you could use the ports more efficiently. There was no waiting time for the ships, and in the same time there was a lot of activity and there was much better utilization, and it has been a journey thereafter. I don't know again any of your audience would have waited in the queues for getting a rail ticket. That is something which we have seen in my generation, but now on the click of a button you are able to do booking not for today but for maybe for 1 year hence. So we have kind of reached there. Going forward after the 70s, there were certain states which took initiatives on their own. So pan India, some of the very progressive states were at a different level of digitization and others were laggards. So Government of India took up many projects in the mission mode, particularly in the area of you would know income tax. Now those returns are online filed, and all kind of now of course people know about GST also. So there were many mission mode projects which were done: Passport Seva, MCA 21, National Citizen Database, Central Excise, Pension, e-Office, and then we kept on increasing the scope of these mission mode projects. E-Sansad, E-Vidhan, E-Bhasha, these were, and urban governance, these were added later on. So now it has been a huge journey. From the citizens' perspective, we don't consider them as users only, we now treat them as partners. So they don't have to come for delivery of services, the government wants to go to their doorsteps to give that service, and electronic mode has provided us that opportunity where we can bring those kind of efficiencies.
So how do you think the emerging technology, now we are talking about everything is going E and we are talking about E-India in the future, how do you think the emerging technology has changed the landscape of e-governance?
Look, I think it's totally changed. In terms of delivery of services, if you look at that, now if I had to see my board result, I had to go and see it on the notice board waiting for I think quite a few minutes. Now the result is on your mobile the minute it is declared. Now going forward, Now, the kind of services which MeitY is envisaging, it will not be app based service, it will be platform based service. For example, now if you have to, you must have heard about DigiLocker. Now, you do not have to store any of your data, personal record. That personal record will remain with everyone from birth till death, and anybody and anyone can access that record and deliver the service based on that record. We are not asking now citizens to actually look for that service. For example, the Umang app, where we have a combination of services given at one platform. Now, here the thought process in the MeitY is that we should we should read the mind of the user, and if he is eligible for a particular service, we should give him a menu, and automatically we tell him that this, you are eligible for this service and this is the way to go, and electronically he can do it with no time. You asked me about the future of e-governance. I think the major two things which I see going forward with the emerging technology is that we will be able to use the data, because we are creating huge data in the using of these services. If you just look at the kind of numbers which have happened in the last few years, in February alone there were around 3.98 billion transactions for digital payment, and which were worth 202.21 lakh crore in 1 month. This is where we have reached. In 2016 there were 91 crore transactions, so they have reached more than 4 to 5 times. So, similarly about the growth in the volume. Similarly, if you look at the direct benefit transfer in year 2020-21, the total number of transactions were 274 crore, the transaction, and the volume involved was 3,86,990 crore. So, in DigiLocker we have now, as of now, 5.90 crore users. When we have so many transactions and we have so many users, we are going to get that kind of data generated, and then based on that data, I think we will be able to provide unique service to everyone. So, one is how the artificial intelligence will help in using this data for giving personalized service to each individual. The second thing which I think is that we will have to look at how are we making the ease of we are providing ease of doing business to both our normal citizens and businesses. So, with the emerging technologies like the IoT and the machine learning, these kind of services which we are now providing, it will be done at a very more granular level with much more efficiency. Now, I understand that in the private sector now the technology with a small sensor, they are looking at what is the kind of work that particular machine is using just by looking at how many times that machine moves. So, they are able to look at the efficiency of that machine. So, I think these technologies will also help us in seeing how are we delivering our services. So, there will, going forward, I think there will be much more efficiency in delivery of the services. In the pandemic, last 1 year you asked, I think this pandemic has given a lot of fillip to the use of electronic technology. I talked about one pillar of governance, that is the law and order, which also includes the delivery of justice. In this pandemic, when people were not able to go to the courts, we are very happy to share with you that we were able to transact more than 80 lakh of cases were heard through the VC mode. So, and most of the schools we were not able to open, but then you have seen the kind of education people have been able to have through the electronic mode. So, I think going forward, delivery of service at your doorstep and personalized service will be the endeavor of MeitY.
So what are some key highlights of the budget this year for MeitY?
Last year, I mean this year, which is 2021, we have a budget of around 7,000 crore, but going forward this budget is going to be around 22,000 crore next year. So, the basic highlight is, then I would like to touch the third pillar, the creating of opportunities, because METI is not looking at only IT, it is also looking at electronics as such. That is the field which supports the IT, the electronics, the hardware of electronics. So, the mobile, we are now the second largest manufacturer of mobile phones in India, and this has not happened in one day. In the last 4 years, government's continuous effort to support local manufacturing has made that happen. And for that, the PLI scheme, which everybody has heard, that is creating ripples in the economy. So, going forward, and the PLI which METI started, it has gone to now many other ministries also. So, the major thrust area in the next year, of course, our the regular programs which we run for the information technology, those will continue to happen, but the major areas where which will focus next year is on electronics manufacturing. We want to bring the fab system in India. We want to have the research which supports Atmanirbhar Bharat, because till now we are the consumer of electronics from other countries. We want to become exporters of electronics from India. So, therefore, the ecosystem which we need to create and support our local industry, most of the budget will be going for that, and that will help achieving the goal of what our Prime Minister has told us to do, that is to have the Atmanirbhar Bharat.
So how much is the focus towards the northeastern region?
In every ministry, 10% budget is allocated to the northeast, but my ministry is very focused on this. Even we spend more than 10% of our budget in the northeast. Apart from collaborating with all the other schemes of METI are also supported in the northeast, like for the creation of communication infrastructure, we have set up state data centers in every state. We have set up the, we are having very collaborative research with all the institutes set in the northeast, in all the 7 states of the northeast. But more importantly, I was just in fact reviewing yesterday only, we are now setting up 5 center of excellence in northeast. And I think since your audience is young minds looking at startups, the concept of center of excellence is that we give, we partner with the state governments, we partner with the industry, and we partner with the academic institution to bring in an ecosystem for startups to flourish. So, the startups which we have recently sanctioned for northeast is in graphic design, gaming, data analytics, healthcare, agri-tech and drone technology. So, those of your audience who would like to go and work there, they are most welcome to go and create outputs which will help in taking India forward.
So with these startups, I heard the word agri-tech. So how do you think agri-tech will change in the coming 1 year or 2 years with the use of so much of technology?
Look, METI is trying to create a lot of infrastructure also in terms of supercomputing mission. We want to have computing facilities based out of India from our own indigenous technology. Today we have 13 petaflop of computing facility available in India. I want to tell your startup community that quite a bit of these computing facilities we have kept for startups to use at very concessional rates. Now, you asked about agriculture. You see, and I also talked about we have the data is going to be the driver for future. We have the soil health card with us. We know through our artificial intelligence and machine learning models, we can have lot of good prediction for weather. Then we have through the e-Naam mandis, so the ones the electronic mandis where farmers can sell their produce electronically, looking at the prices all over the country. So that infrastructure is also available through the electronic mode. Then we have the farmers data with us, and we have mapped every farmland, the granular data is there with us, and through the space technology we can kind of monitor the growth of the crops also. So, when we synergize all this through the new technologies, I think the service which we can provide to farmer is when to grow what, we can give him weather predictions, when to harvest his produce, and how to sell it at the most optimum prices. So, this synergy is available only today, this was not available earlier, and this is what is going to be the future of technology, synergizing all these technologies. And also through drone also, I understand in particularly in northeast we are encouraging this. Through the drone technology we are seeing what is the how the crop is growing, so that we can give signal to the farmer how much fertilizer to put, how much watering to be done. So, all these and all this technology, I am very glad to tell you that this is coming from small startups. They are trying to build this kind of synergy and bringing value to the farmers and to the agriculture.
So, two more questions just. So, one is how much does Aarogya Setu was helpful in terms of COVID management?
It created an ecosystem where not only we could identify the hotspots, but also it gave the economy was almost at a standstill. So, with the Aarogya Setu app, we could influence the transport sector, the flights were based on the outcome of the whatever the person was, whether he was having I mean there were some indicators which Aarogya Setu app was able to tell to the transporters, to the even the offices. So, I think it helped in taking the economy forward. Otherwise, and it was a collaborative effort of not only the government, we brought the private sector also along, and that is going to be the future. That if we have to take India forward, we will have to work with the private sector, the capability of the public sector, and bring those products which can help take us to the future India.
What are some of your highlights or your vision towards the startups, towards who are the future of governance?
I have been part of many challenge, the jury of many challenge rounds, and I can just see and feel the energy and that dream in the eyes of the startups. Basically, it's I think some of the drive is to earn money also, but more I see that they want to be part of the Indian story. They want to become part of the governance. They want to create something which can ultimately help humanity at large. So, when they have this kind of gleam in their eyes, that is very, very comforting. In the VC challenge round, where we wanted to have our own VC, support the VC rather than using the conference apps of the from the western world, we wanted to have our own indigenous app. So, we ran a challenge round. I could see people coming from small towns, they were not able to have very good communication, but one could see that the kind of enthusiasm they had, the kind of understanding they had about the technology, the kind of app they could build, and also the kind of confidence that they want to do it. That is, I think, which we would like to take forward, that energy which we would like to harness, and METI is supporting startups in a very big way. I don't know, we have been continuously engaging with the Your Story also. Recently we have started METI Startup Hub, where we are trying to bring in the ecosystem of the whole country at one place, wherever the startups, if whatever they require, if they require the mentorship, if they require the funding, if they require the market, that the whole thing will be available to them at one place. So it has recently been set up, and I am sure that going forward, apart from the other schemes, Center of Excellence, I told you we have around more than 20 Center of Excellence spread all over the country in all the emerging technologies, whether it is fintech, whether it is AI, whether it is agriculture, whether it is power electronics, whether it is hardware. So, we give financial support, and we have other schemes which give also the seed money, and mentoring and market also we provide. That is the purpose of all these Center of Excellence also, where we take the problem statement from the central governments and the state governments, and then give those problem statements for the startups to solve, so that one of the biggest problem which they have is to find market. That also the METI is providing through this concept, this scheme of Center of Excellence.
Thank you so much for talking to Your Story, ma'am.
It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, and I think my compliments to the whole team of Your Story, and Shraddha particularly. She is trying to create an ecosystem where every citizen can become a partner in the growth story of India.
Thank you so much, ma'am.